Now you don't gotta feel bad, Mark.
Okay, I feel better now.
I'm
I feel
sorry.
better now. I mean, you Saints, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. No, man, you know I'm playing. That's funny.
There's a live stream is already going. Okay, yeah, you're live. You're live.
I got you, sir.
Okay, all right.
Well, good morning and grace and peace, family. Welcome to this morning's empowerment session for the 2025 Holy Convocation. If you have not heard, we are excited and humbled to have a multi-hyphenate, an emerging general in the kingdom, someone whose ministry has been a blessing not only to myself,
Well, good
but to
morning.
much
Grace
of the
and
body
peace,
of
family.
Christ in this time and in this period, man. Could we put some fire in the chat for Pastor Mark Moore Jr.? Come on, y'all, show him some love in the chat. Let's let him know that we love him, that we see him. Last night was an amazing time in our convocation, and I'm just expecting things to get better and better. But our daytime sessions have been amazing. On yesterday, we had the international president of world missions for the Church of God in Christ, Bishop Terrence Roan, and a bishop who's an amazing man of God in his own right, Bishop Aeneas Francisco. But you all are in for a treat today. Before we start, I have to pause and just publicly acknowledge our jurisdictional bishop, one of the greatest bishops in the church today, Bishop Joe L. Ely, and our sainted mother, Mother Barbara Bryant. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Well, Pastor Mark, I have to say, man, excited to be with you. Excited to have you. How you doing today, sir?
I'm talking to you in first jurisdiction of Southern California, so I'm doing better than I deserve, man. Truly, truly, truly honored to be here and just excited about all that God is doing and getting ready to do here at this convocation.
So I want to tell you, Pastor Mark, it's our first time connecting,
Yes,
but
sir.
you have been a friend to my mind. I'm blessed to have grown up in the Black Pentecostal Holiness Church.
Yes, sir.
There are often times where we have to run to Brady Shear, people like Kerry Newhoff, but it just
Yeah.
it does something for my soul to see a man of God like yourself who is from the same tribe as I am, but you're giving us practical, pragmatic principles for ministry. And
Wow.
before we really just sit at your feet and let you brain dump, man, for those who are not connected with your ministry, for those who are not connected with Spirit and Truth, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are, a little bit about your ministry journey, and then we'll dive into things.
Man, absolutely honored, man. And I guess the best way to summarize it is one, I'm a fifth generation PK. So let's start there
Wow.
on both sides of my family. So I don't know anybody like my brother, my sister, and myself, but that has led to a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful story and legacy and an opportunity to know the Saints backwards and forward. I've been dealing with the Saints ever since I came to America. So that's what I am. I'm a church boy at heart. And prior to our church being founded 2 years ago, um, we hosted a conference there in the city of Atlanta. We started in 2012 with
Yep.
50 people in a meeting room, and by the grace of God, within 7 events, it had grown to over 5,000 people
Wow.
from 49 states, 22 countries, filling, convention centers, and um, we had the opportunity to pay off $2 million worth of medical debt
Wow.
for the city residents in the city facing eviction and whatnot. And the pandemic, of course, shifted our focus a little bit, and we moved deeper into the digital ministry space. And I know that that's kind of in line with where we are today, but we really saw the value in pivoting and prospering and moved into the digital space. launched an online ministry that we thought would forever just be an online ministry called Spirit and Truth. And our first Sunday night streaming, 50,000 people tuned in.
Wow.
And yeah, and so little did we know that in just a short span of time, what was an online ministry would become a physical brick and mortar church, Spirit and Truth Church, which in 23 months, by the grace and for the glory of God, has grown to over 3,500 members, four locations, four campuses, two states, three in Metro Atlanta, three relief campuses, and then one in Detroit, Michigan, a Reach campus. And we have a prison location as well that we kind of count as our fifth campus. Every week we have ministry in the prison. They can't get to church, so we take church to them. And we've just seen God's hand and God's favor on our life. We've been able to acquire properties and buildings and renovate with no loan from a bank at all. And so we're just grateful, man, just trying to serve this present age, a calling to fulfill, and just wanting to really make an impact in our generation and really push and promote what we kind of call sensible sanctification. I
Hmm.
am a firm believer that you can be saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, with the evidence of speaking in unknown tongues, and still be civically engaged.
Yeah.
I'm a believer that you can see signs and wonders and see excellence in the same church. I
Wow.
believe you can see uh, and hear a traditional sound and still have a forward progressive economic and socioeconomic model. And so that's who we are. That's what we're doing. And just grateful for our little piece, piece of the Kingdom Corner.
Man, that's awesome. Just an anointed leader. I think I heard you say that there's maybe a grace for growth that's on your life.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
Lance Penland will say this. It seems you're in a season, so where everything your hands touch turns to gold. So we're
Ah,
just excited to learn from what you're doing. There's a
wow.
tension that many pastors are feeling. In this present moment, post-pandemic, you said everything has changed.
Yes.
There's a pressure to go online to minister in the digital landscape. And the early question that I want to ask you, before the followers, before the views, as you were transitioning from YLC
Yeah.
into Spirit and Truth, before the platform was fully built, what was in your heart when you first started to lean into the online space? What was kind of the catalyst that called you into that online space?
Man, I love that question. I think quite honestly, and this might seem a little odd at first, but the best answer is what I believe was a better understanding of the Great Commission.
Hmm.
How can we hear a Jesus tell us to go into all the world,
Yeah.
then forsake the biggest mission field in human history,
Wow.
is the internet? How can we hear eschatological words about the end times and scripture says that he won't come until everyone has had a chance to hear? Well, pastor, what is the one thing that we have discovered that gives an opportunity for the whole world to hear? It is the internet, it is the digital space. And so I don't think it's a question of if, I think it's a question of when, if you're behind the curve, and then how effectively you're gonna adjust and navigate. Because we have to remember, Pastor, that every new wave of innovation is fought by the previous wave.
Yeah.
If you go back in we're sons of the Pentecostal church, as you mentioned. If you go back far enough, there was a time when sanctified holiness people didn't believe in radios
Hmm.
because they played blues on that radio, right? There was a time, if you go back far enough, now we're sanctified holiness Pentecostal folk. There was a time when the Hammond B3 organ was too worldly for our churches because that was a blues instrument.
Wow. Now that's the cornerstone
Now
of the church.
you ain't had church if somebody don't go to E flat.
Yeah.
And there was a time when radio was the devil, and then everybody got on radio and said, "Well, hold on, wait, can we preach to people on there?" They said, "Yeah." Then everybody had radio ministries. Then television comes, and in the Sanctified Holiness Church, there was a time in sectors where they preached against television, that one-eyed demon. Don't bring that thing in your house. And then somebody said, wait, do sinners watch TV? Yeah. So can we preach on it? Well, I mean, I guess. And then what? The TV ministry was born, and everybody wanted to be on television. And then time marches on, truth progresses, and the internet comes. And what happened once again? Y'all don't need to be on that internet. That social media is the devil. It's gonna ruin the church. Da, 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 da. And then somebody said, wait, can we preach on it? And then all of a sudden, we're now seeing and developing an awareness. Wait, maybe we can reach more people. But from radio to television to internet, each one of these technologies has increased the distribution potential of the church. And so I said all that to say that it is not an if question. It is
Yeah.
a how effectively can we do this? Because for me, what pushed me into that scape to into that landscape to get to the heart of your question was just a realization that, hey, if we're going to do what Jesus said, he
Mm.
promised to make us fishers of men. Where are the fish? The fish are on Facebook, the fish are on YouTube, the fish are on TikTok, the fish are on Instagram. We got to go where the fish are. So
Yeah.
that's what did it for me, man. Just the refusal to be obsolete. Because the reality is, Pastor, we will either take change by the hand or change will take us by the throat.
Wow. It's Craig Groeschel who said, if we refuse to embrace the digital age, then we're going to miss the very road that people are walking on. So I love what you're saying here, Pastor Mark. I want to ask you, for the pastor who's hearing this, for the ministry worker, the ministry leader who's hearing this, and they're saying, well, Spirit and Truth launched in the middle of the pandemic, at least as an online ministry. And here we are 3, 4, 5 years later. Maybe we have missed our moment. For those who are thinking they're too far behind the eight ball, for those who are thinking in the middle of June 2025, it's too late to pivot into the digital space. What would you say to those people, to those pastors?
Um, Unfortunately, Pastor, and I know you know this, the reality is that culture shifts every 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
Church culture shifts every 15 to 20, which means that we are, unfortunately, especially in Black Pentecostal church, we're unfortunately generations behind.
Hmm.
That's sad. That's, again, unfortunate, but it's not a death sentence. We get up and preach every Sunday to people, many of whom have heard the gospel, have had opportunities, have decided, well, one day. But what do? We keep on preaching because our reality is if you still have breath in your body, you still got time.
Yeah.
So I say to that church member or to that church leader, I should say, that's debating, well, maybe we've just missed the window. The bubble has not burst.
Hmm.
You cannot make up for the fact that you didn't start when you should have, but you can start now and serve what's in front of you and get going. Put your hand to the plow and let's go. You're late, but you're worth waiting on. Let's be very clear. You are late, but you're worth waiting on. There are churches right now debating, should we get on that new Facebook thing? I think that Facebook thing gonna be big one day. You late.
Oh, that's very late.
But yeah, the trumpeter is tuning up. It ain't sounded yet, but he is doing the mic check.
Yes, sir.
And so, but the reality is it's still better than never. So move now.
That's so good. I wrestle, Pastor Mark, with many of our churches. They just copy and paste onto Facebook Live or onto YouTube what they do on Sunday in the sanctuary. So they really don't see anything else on their social media platforms besides
Right.
a 2 hour live stream between 10 and 12 on Sunday. So I want you to speak into what are some other non-negotiables? What are some things we need to make sure that we're posting, make sure that we're talking about, make sure that we're showing online beyond our
Mhm.
Sunday sermons? If we're going to lean in, if we're going to go to where the people are, what are some
Mhm.
things maybe you're doing, your team is doing to leverage what's happening in your ministry outside of Sunday service?
I love that question, Pastor. I think that the major shift that has to happen is that we have to stop looking at social media and the internet as a place to post about ministry
Hmm.
and a place to actually do ministry.
Okay, you're gonna have to unpack that. Don't you? We
Okay.
can't we can't go fast here. We got to go slow.
Let's get into it then. Most of us treat the internet or social media just like a digital bulletin board, flyer after flyer
Yeah,
after flyer. Here's what we're doing. Women doing a fish fry on Thursday. Men are doing a free car wash on Saturday. Youth are doing picnic on Friday. It's flyers, it's
yeah.
clips, it's announcements, it's announcements, it's announcements. That's great, but you're missing the opportunity. You're missing the chance to connect with people and meet needs. So, from a practical lens, what does that look like? Instead of just saying, come to our church and meet our men on Friday at 6 o'clock, and it's going to be a good time. Well, okay, but there are people that are not coming. So instead of doing that, why not provide something online where the men who can't get there, don't live in the same city, don't even live in the same state, can still grow, can still learn something. Let's use it as an opportunity to teach, to share information, not just about what we're doing, but information that brings value to your life.
Mm,
Let's use it as a tool and as a technology to answer questions. Let's
mm.
use it as a technology to provide solutions, to build community, right? Let's stop looking at it like just a bulletin board.
So we need to move beyond social media being used as our announcements, our second set of
Yeah.
announcements. That's good. I think that's a major mistake that many of our churches have done. I know it's a mistake that I have made is, hey, we have this on the calendar. Let's get a
Mhm.
flyer, and that's all we do online.
Mhm.
Listening to you speak, I'm convinced you are a practitioner as it relates to posting, to content creation, and what's happening online. But I want to ask you this, and maybe this is something you don't got to tell all of it, but you can tell on it. What are some of the mistakes that you've made in the process of growing your social media presence, in the process of engaging online as a minister and a ministry? What are some things maybe you wish you did differently? You wish you could have that back? What are some of the mistakes you've made on the journey?
Man, do you want that list categorically or alphabetically? There's never a shortage of mistakes. I think that the most low-hanging fruit would be speaking to what I just mentioned,
Hmm.
making the mistake of just being so stuck on making announcements and telling people about what we're doing at the church that we're missing an opportunity to be the church in a digital space.
Hmm.
So that's been big. That's been an opportunity, I'll say. And then also, I think that a lot of us um, have fallen into the trap of trying to be too trendy.
Hmm.
Like, let's just say this: every social media trend is not for you or your church. Every social media trend is not for you or your church. You have to know context. And then let's be very honest, especially the, sanctified churches, you have to also kind of know tone and tenor. Like I've seen I've seen churches before and they meant no harm. They saw something going viral and did not get an understanding.
Yeah.
And so you got 80-year-old church mother doing a voiceover to a song that mother don't know is highly explicit.
Yeah.
Like that don't mean what you think it means. You no, get Bishop out that video. That's not what that is. So just failing to understand the uniqueness of our own individual situations and you know know what's for you and know what's not.
That's good. There are a lot of viral moments and trends, and I love that you said that we do have to be careful in what we choose to participate in as a church. I heard you say recently that we need to quit letting the internet pastor our church.
Yeah.
And man, those comments, if I could say this, they got contentious. But
Yeah.
but could you lean in a little more about what that means when you said it to not let the internet pastor our church? Where are you seeing that show up? Is it just chasing trends? Is there more to that? What does that mean as a pastor when I'm allowing the internet to pastor my church?
Man, great question. What I meant by that. Now, certainly it could mean, many things to many different people. But what I meant when I typed it and posted it was simply, as a pastor, there's so much pressure, internal, external pressure to perform, pressure
Mm,
to compete, pressure to match, pressure to line up. And the heart behind the intention behind the post was simply to kind of take that pressure off for a moment and say, hey, you have a calling to fulfill in your local church. Don't allow every trend, don't allow what people who have never pastored are dictating. The church ought to be, why don't the church do, da, da, da. Stop letting the internet pastor your church, because you have to give an account to God.
yeah,
Not the internet, not the people that you read every blog and you read every church growth this and you went to every conference. All that is good. But we had to learn how to eat meat and spit out bones, right? And so I just see so many people that are just tossed to and fro with every wind of doctrine, so to speak.
yeah,
Doctrine simply means teaching. So we think doctrine and we immediately think of, the infilling of the Holy Spirit or baptism or that kind of theological training. But a lot of us are moved by every wind of doctrine, every wind of social doctrine, every wind of how the gifts should operate. You serve your church.
yeah,
We look at, you mentioned some great names, Kerry Newhoff and Brady Shea and all of these guys who are certainly experts in their niche and in their context, but everything that works for everybody doesn't work for you. You mentioned, for example, Pastor Craig Rochelle pastors the largest church in the country, 50 plus thousand active members across all 50 plus campuses, right?
he's killing.
But everything that works for him in Oklahoma will not work for me in Atlanta. Everything that works for me in Atlanta might not work for you in California.
Yeah,
Everything that works for you in California might not work for me in Detroit. And so I think that when we take every criticism, every this is what the church ought to be doing, every complaint that you read on somebody's Facebook post, and then allow that to determine how you do your programming, that's letting the internet pastor your church. And that's not how that should be. You have to serve your local facility. You have to serve your local context. You have to serve what's in front of you.
that's so good, man. You have to serve your local context. I think
Yes.
it's very dangerous when you let the algorithm determine your
Bro.
ecclesiological model. When you let
Yes.
the algorithm dictate what happens on Sunday. That's good. We could spend the rest of our time right there, man. But I want to honor your time. So I want to ask you this. There are many emerging men and women of God who look to your social platform as a model. They look to people like a Carrie Newhoff, and the list goes on, whether they're in our cultural context or others. But here's the question I want us to wrestle with, particularly in the Pentecostal space. In
Mhm.
the internet era, everyone is asking for authenticity. Everyone wants to keep it real. Everyone wants to say, I want to make sure that I show people who I am. But as a clergyman, as a pastor, as a leader in the church, as a credential holder in a church, how do we balance the line online of authenticity and what's oversharing?
That's a great question. I think that the best way to walk that line, toe that line, centers around the level of healing
Mm,
that has occurred in that given context. So, in other words, I think that a lot of times when we talk about, or there are a lot of people that when they talk about authenticity and transparency and they talk about just being real, what they really mean in a lot of cases is they want to show their wounds.
wow.
There's a big difference between wounds and scars. Scars say, hey, this at one point was a wound, but it has been healed.
Mm.
I can tell you, don't do a somersault off the top of the monkey bars. Because you see that scar right there? Yeah, I'm apt to teach because I've learned the hard way. But if I'm walking up to you, this arm just dangling the wrong way, bones sticking out, blood everywhere. Guys, let me do a master class on how not to, no, no, you need to go to the doctor. You need to go to the ER right now.
Yeah.
You're not healed enough to walk in that level of transparency or walk in that level of instruction or teaching or whatever the case might be. No, 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 no. You need to go ahead and you need to get that fixed. So I think that how do I know if I'm oversharing? Has healing taken place yet? Has is there another side, another end of the testimony? Like you're sharing, you're talking, you're teaching, you're training, but what's the fruit of what you're talking about? I think that that's important. Then also, what's the end game? Is this going to edify God? Is this going to edify the church? Or am I just bleeding on my timeline and giving you insight that you don't really need because my insurance doesn't cover a therapist? You know?
That's good, Pastor Mark. So we're on social media. We have a good strategy for posting. We strike a good balance between authenticity and trying to use TikTok and Instagram stories for therapy. There are many people like yourself who are using social media in a healthy way. So here's the question. I think of Luke, the eighth chapter. You've preached this text just like I have many times. The woman with the issue of blood, she touches his garment. Jesus says, "Who touched me?" Power left him, if you will. We serve in a context where people pull on us. We're laying hands at the altar, and we could feel that. But not only now do we have the pull as Pentecostals of working an altar and laying hands on the sick, but once we walk away from the pulpit, now we have the pull of posting. So you're pouring out on an altar, and then you're pouring out on a midweek mentor moment. You're
Mhm.
pouring out in your Instagram stories. You're pouring out on TikTok. You're pouring out on Facebook Lives. Here's the question I want to ask you. How do you stay spiritually full as a pastor who is pouring out from the pulpit and you have to pour out on Facebook Live, on YouTube, on Instagram? You're doing Zoom calls. You're having meetings in hotel rooms on empowerment sessions with Pastor Lance.
Yeah.
How do you stay spiritually full along the way?
I think the best answer, and this is the timing is perfect. You can continue to pour out as long as you continue to pour in. So, for example, I'm doing this session right now from a hotel. I'm in Florence, South Carolina right now
Yeah.
because and I just took my badge off. I am at the Christian Covenant Fellowship of Ministry, CCFM King Summit, really the annual convention. This is my pastor, Bishop Michael Blue. And ironically, our presiding bishop, Bishop J.G. Sheard, was here last night. He spoke at the gala last night. Bishop John Francis, Bishop Lambert Gates, Pastor T. Renee Glenn, Kurt Carr, Micah Stampley, Jeffrey Golden, Pastor Wendy Wyatt, Vincent. All of these people are coming. Bishop Bobby Hilton and Apostle, my brother, Apostle Brandon Clack. The sessions are going on all day. I stepped away to be with you, but this is to me the best answer to that question. I'm able to pour out because I'm consistently pouring back in. A lot of us, I think, make the mistake of um, wanting to be an answer to everyone, wanting to be a solution to everyone, while never taking the time to replenish. And your car is a great example of this truth. You can drive as far as your tank will take you. But guess what? At some point, you're gonna have to stop again and you got to put more gas in that tank. Because if not, doesn't matter how shiny the wheels are, doesn't matter how big the engine is, doesn't matter how nice the seats are, how great the sound system is. If you don't put fuel in the tank, you will be shiny on the side of the road. And so I've been on a personal journey, just being fully transparent with you. I've been on a personal journey of the word for this season for me is alignment.
Wow.
The Lord really, not to be deep, but just to be honest with you, the Lord really kind of shook me a month or so ago, a couple months ago now, and told me basically, son, you're growing everything but you.
Wow.
Hit me. I said, whoa, what? Your church is growing, your business is growing, your money's growing, but you're not growing. I wasn't disciplined about my time. I'm single, so I don't have a wife and children to get up and take to school in the morning. And, it's so I throw myself into my work, but that means I'm staying up until I can't stay up no more, not eating right. I'm on the road a lot. I'm not disciplined about my diet. Wasn't wasn't exercising, working out, all of this. And the Lord just kind of put it on me, you're praying for things and working towards things, but if I gave them to you, they would destroy you right now.
Yeah.
Because you're out of alignment. I said, man, that thing hurt. So what did I do? I made the decision now. On most days, travel throws it off a little bit, but on most days I'm up at 5 in the morning. I start my day with devotional and the gym, get those miles in, and just whatever. I've cut out all pop and Pepsis and Cokes and things of that nature. I'm drinking all water with the exception of some Starbucks, but now I got to get less pumps of vanilla in, and all of that. Trying to, but just trying to get me together. I'm writing more, I'm reading more, and it's all in an attempt to, as you mentioned, make sure that I'm hydrated, for lack of a better term,
Mm.
and that my pitcher is full, my cup is full, so that I don't pour from an empty place.
That's good, man. Somebody in the chat, just write alignment. Somebody, let's put alignment in the chat. That's
That's the
so
word.
good, Pastor Mark. We have to find ourselves in alignment. You said you're hydrated, man, and we cannot pour from an empty cup. What I love about what you said is that's introspective,
Mhm.
right? There are areas where you have to push, areas where you have to show up, lead, and serve, but you can't just look on the people that you have to pour out, but you have to make sure that you're pouring in. I want to take a moment and ask a question, not to Pastor Mark, but let's get in the time machine. I want to ask a question to Elder Mark.
Okay.
I want to ask a question not for the Pastor Spirit and Truth, but I want to let's put YLC brain on for a moment if we can.
Okay.
There are young and emerging leaders who want to have an impact online. They want to build a social media ministry, but they haven't quite found their voice. What would you say to them as you're looking at young leaders who want to grow on social media? They want to have a ministry on social media. Is there something they need to be introspective about and ask themselves? Is there something they need to process through as they're looking to grow, to develop, to find their voice in the internet space?
Absolutely. I love that question, Pastor. And the one word answer that I would give as a foundation to that is this: motive.
Hmm.
You want to grow, you want to have followers, you want to impact whatever. Why? Because if the motive is only, well, so and so, they this, and if they can do it, I can do it. Or if so and so did it and they're making money and they're doing this and I want to make money and I want to, you need to check motive, because
Yeah.
if the motive is not pure, not to say that um, it's necessarily malicious to want to do what someone else is doing. We're inspired, but if it's only to do what someone else is doing, or recreate what someone else is recreating, you're going to run into a problem of a lack of traction, because it's not, well, nobody supports me. No, it's not that they're not supporting. It's just that they supported it with the person that it belongs to. They've seen this before.
Hmm.
Us are wondering why our cheap knockoff, our carbon copy remixed versions of classic. Why is it not taking off? We've seen this movie before, you know. We had Dr. Pepper. We don't need Professor Byrne. Like what we've seen this. We've seen a better version of this. So the question, or the answer, I should say, would be motive. If you're trying to get traction, what's the why behind it? Because it's the why that's going to drive you in seasons when it's uncomfortable. It's the why that's going to keep you motivated when you want to quit. It's the why that will help you push through those seasons and days when you have no support. It's the why that will make you fight for the vision to stay alive. And if your only why is, well, so and so did it, that's not compelling, that's not convicting, and it will not work.
That's so good. Motive is important, especially as you move towards the digital space.
Mhm.
Pastor Mark, I thank you for taking out time with us. I want to
Honor,
make sure
man.
I honor your time. I have one last question for you.
Sure.
As you are pouring in all of these places,
Mhm.
particularly leaning into the digital landscape, we follow you on YouTube. We follow you on Facebook. I always get tickled. I don't even know if you do it anymore, but every time I click on the Spirit and Truth video, it will say, "Hi, this is Pastor Mark Moore Jr." I'm like, I gotta learn. I can't be a carbon copy of you, but I'm like, I need one of them videos with I got an orange wall, you got a blue one. I'm like, I need to stand by
Whatever, man.
in front of my orange wall and say, "This is Pastor Lance Finland." But man, I want to ask you, what do you feel with all you're doing? And you spoke to alignment, but is there anything else? Can you speak deeper? What is God teaching you as you post on social media, as you share with others? Are there things outside of taking care of your physical health, taking care, and kudos to you, man. I've been seeing you in the gym. I've been seeing you post. Kudos to you, brother, man, on the road in the
Thank
gym.
you, man.
But are there other things spiritually that God is teaching you as you've been
Mhm.
showing up in these social media spaces? Are there things you're learning about yourself? Like, hey, maybe if I post too much, I feel like I'm wrestling with pride, or maybe if I miss a moment, are there things you're wrestling with
Mhm.
outside of alignment? This is our last question, but I just want to hear from you, man. If we could lean into an authentic moment outside of alignment, what is God teaching you?
Man, I love that. Alignment is certainly the primary
Yeah,
word for me, but here's the reality. Once you get into alignment, things flow better, things ride smoother. Like my car, for example, I took it in, I think around a month or so ago, around this same
yes, sir.
time. And I said, hey, this it's a nice car, and I'm not liking the way it's riding right now. I'm hitting high speeds, and I got a little shake in my steering wheel. What is that about? Well, of course, fittingly, my tires were out of alignment. And when things are not aligned, the ride is rough.
Yeah,
And so that applies to our physical, our mental, our spiritual, everything. So now that I'm getting into alignment, I'm able to see clear. And yes, that introspection is so real. One of the things that I'm just trying to focus on right now as a result of the alignment conversation is just a greater awareness of how big the world is. Sometimes we become so stuck on what we see that we forget that there's so much more than what we see. And just really, I've been challenged to be very vulnerable and personal. I've been challenged to embrace um, just the beauty of boundaries.
hmm,
Everybody doesn't have, I don't, social media will trick you if you let it. Oh my God, I can't believe you unfollowed me. Why? Why can you not believe that? Like, if this was 25 years ago, prior to the Instagrams and TikToks and da da da, if I didn't like what you had to say, or if I didn't, agree with your viewpoints, I'm not going to just walk around behind you to see what you do that I know I'm not going to like.
yeah,
Why would I do it online? When people do this thing, it always trips me out. People do this thing about how messy social media is and all this tension and drama. You do realize that's a reflection of what you chose to follow. So if every time you get on social media, it's fighting and trouble and tension and the sky is falling, that's a choice that you made to consume. So embrace better boundaries. You determine what you feed yourself.
yeah.
You, you can only control the controllables, right? But control them. So that's just where I am right now, man.
That's so good, Pastor Mark. We appreciate you so much for taking out time in your busy schedule to be with us for our Holy Convocation empowerment sessions. And
Honor.
man, it's just an honor to be able to sit with a practitioner and hear how God is using you and learn how we can
Um,
apply some of that. And to Southern California, jurisdiction number one, to friends who have joined us on today. I hope you caught this. This was not just about YouTube. It was
right,
not just about Instagram. It's not just about content, but
right.
it's about a calling,
Yeah.
ministry, and ultimately the Great Commission. As Pastor Mark said it, if we're going to go into all the world, then we're going to have to go to where the world is,
Yes.
and that is in the digital space. Here's the thing, you all, it takes leadership to do this well. It takes vision and it takes voices like Pastor Mark Moore Jr. And as many of us who are about to lean deeper into the digital space are preparing, I want you to enter into that digital space. Please hear me in alignment. That is our word. Lean in to Facebook, to Instagram, to YouTube. Use the tips, the tools, the strategies, but use those tools in alignment. Make sure you're taking place or creating space rather to pray, to read your word, to renew, restore, to recreate so you can minister and be all that it is that God has called you to be and do all that it is that God has called you to do. If you were blessed today, I want to invite you in a moment. Please hear me. You've been fed, you've been encouraged. In many ways, you've been corrected and guided. I want to invite you into a moment of giving because I believe that when you are fed like this, I mean, I take my wife to Roof Chris. Oh, at the end, I'm gonna cut a check. I
Yes,
take
sir.
my wife to Maestro's. At the end, I'm gonna cut a check. It's our convocation, and we want to be a blessing, not just to our speakers, not just to our presenters, but also to this great jurisdiction. So if you're blessed today, I want to invite you into a moment of giving. And what better place to give than Southern California jurisdiction number one? This is good ground. There are a couple of ways, family, that you can give, and I want to put them on the screen for you so that you can participate in your giving. You can give online safely and securely if you have Givelify. Um, you all know how to do this. www.givelify, first jurisdiction of Southern California. You can also give by way of Cash App, Kojic, SoCal One, various ways that you can give. And I want to say this, we're grateful for your financial giving and for your financial partnership. Pastor Mark, God bless you, sir. This has been a
Honor, man.
phenomenal session. And we're praying for you and your ministry and all that
Thank
God
you,
has in
man.
store for you. God bless you.
Thank
God
you,
bless
man.
you.
All right.
And God bless you.
Yes, sir.